Mr. Brok, you have been part of the European Parliament for many years. Has the enlargement been postponed indefinitely despite the efforts of Brussels and certain member countries? What is the mood in the European Parliament, in the European Union, and what can Macedonia hope for in the near future?
I think it is not postponed because it's a common interest. Both the Western Balkan countries can get the stability, the economic and social progress only as part of the European Union. But on the other side, I see the history of our continent, if I see this geopolitical situation, it's also very much in the interest of the European Union to come to an agreement, country by country, to become members of the European Union. Northern Macedonia has done a great step forward with the agreement with Greece, and this, therefore, I hope that quite soon membership negotiations can start. But we see that both in the European Union and in Western Balkan countries, on a different level, still things have to be solved, which would be helpful to solve it before the membership comes.
Is the credibility of the European Union damaged in this way? Because there are countries like Macedonia that meet the criteria for starting the negotiations and have made sacrifices with concessions to their neighbors, but still faced blockades.
Look, here's one point we see even in the countries who became 2004, 2007 member of the European Union, that there is one point not yet understood, that all historical debates should be overcome. Europe is not there to debate the old fights. It's to make these fights unimportant. This is the experience we had Germany and France, for example, but also many other situations. Borders are not important. That is the policy of the European Union, not to change borders. The question is not the identity. The question. Country should think what they are, but they have also accept what others believe what they are. There cannot be irredenta. And here is still uncertainty in that questions. And we have then also the problem after our experience with Hungary and Poland, that's a question of the stability of liberal democracy and the rule of law. Is an important question which we see now at a more important point than it was done 10 years ago.
You are a high-ranking member of Chancellor Merkel's ruling CDU party, but also in the European People's Party. What is the view of the German state towards the Bulgarian veto? And is any pressure possible from Berlin, but also from the EPP towards Borisov in the upcoming period?
Look, pressure is not the right word. I think from both sides must become the understanding. Nobody block the other one, but also nobody should say there are people of my identity in the other country. Both Northern Macedonia and Bulgaria have done so in the past. Sometimes the present year, I think there should be an understanding, and hopefully that this historical committee that both countries have set up should come to a positive, constructive role. And perhaps here it's also possible that from historical point of view, help would be accepted from other independent sources.
You have said the pressure is the wrong word. What is the path towards negotiations for Macedonia in your opinion?
Everyone should understand the other one. That is the main issue of the European Union. And both sides should try. Then there's always the way to come to an understanding, to see that it's in the common interest to come to such an understanding.
Yes, but can such things like language and identity be negotiated?
As I said, everyone should accept the other one, both sides. If it's on the Macedonian side said that certain parts of Bulgaria have more Macedonian identity or the other way around, then I think it's both positions could be understood on the other side, that there is still irredenta policy possible, and this should be avoided.
Macedonia has on several occasions, as I've mentioned previously, faced blockades for the start of negotiations for the EU. You recently said that a solution can be offered in the form of membership in the European Economic Area. Is it a good alternative for Macedonia and the countries of the Western Balkans?
That is not an alternative. It's a first step. That is the important difference. I've made this proposal. We have to come out of the deadlock. One of the deadlocks is, for example, the situation of the European Union. We have seen in the last half a year that with the veto principle in financial matters, in foreign policy matters, the European Union can be in a blockade. Cyprus stops sanctions because of Belarusia. Others stop because sanctions toward Turkey and all that. It's rubbish. Here, it is also not possible. And we have now 27 member countries. With all Western Balkan countries in it, it's 33 member countries. And as we have done so before the last enlargement round, that we have go the way of deepening and widening, we should say the Western Balkan countries have to develop and have to fulfill the criteria of Copenhagen. But part of the criteria of Copenhagen is also the integration capacity of the European Union. This means that we should push also now for further progress in the European Union. The conference Future of Europe, which should start this year, is one of the places where such a question must be solved. It must be also part of such a conference to make the European Union better, improve the European Union in order to live with this enlargement. So homework is not only for Northern Macedonia or Serbia, homework has also been done by the European Union. That is my approach. And when you talk about the European Economic Area, I took part a little bit from parliamentary side in that negotiations at that time. As EFTA was finished, all the EFTA countries became members of the European Economic Area, with the exception later Switzerland make a bilateral approach, which has more or less the same result. And then you have 60–70% of the acquis communautaire already solved. The whole internal market conditions, the Schengen conditions are part of that, and Austria, Sweden, and Finland took that as a starting point for membership negotiation, which went then very fastly forward. But you have not a blockade in some countries like France, who have problems with enlargement, always had problems with enlargement, not just now. That this is not an automatism. You have a step forward. We cannot wait too long for the people in Northern Macedonia. If we start now or next year with a membership negotiation, it needs a membership negotiation as we had to experience 5, 6, 7 years. Then we have 2 further years for the ratification process, which outcome is not clear because all 27 national parliaments have to agree. Then I think it's better not to make everything or nothing, take something as a basis to get everything at the end of the day. I think we should perhaps consider such an approach, otherwise it will become difficult and difficult more in countries like yours to talk about the credibility of the enlargement process.
Could we face blockades of any kind to enter the European Economic Area, or is the procedure different from EU membership? What's the difference?
The difference is that these countries in the very beginning not members of the institutions. And it's not everything until then. It's internal market questions and so on. And this makes it psychologically easier to convince reluctant countries to join in such negotiations or conclude them. And we can do also an important question, which is important because then you're relatively fast in the internal market, that we can do it also in an asymmetric way. That, for example, the borders to the European Union for goods from Northern Macedonia will be open, but only your borders are only open step by step in order that you can live with pressure of the market.
Chancellor Merkel has announced that she will step down by the end of the year. What do you expect and what can we expect from her successor? Can we see any change in German foreign policy?
No. That was at least when someone from our party will be elected. And all our three candidates in the CDU are for European integration process, for the transatlantic relationship. Here we had a luxury problem. Mr. Laschet, who is now our new chairman and probably the next chancellor candidate, was a member of the European Parliament. He was a member of the Foreign Policy Committee of the European Parliament. Is very well informed about such issues, and I think quite open to that process. That this is part of the should become part of the European Union. It's part of Europe.
Mr. Brok, thank you for this interview.
And thank you too.